Speed, velocity, and momentum in space when powered by gravity drive is a strange array of calculations best left up to the computers. Most pilots are advised to not worry about their speed, but instead to watch their G-forces put onto their body while fighting. Others ignore these instruments in totality, and instead fly by how they feel. On the ground, however, familiar rules of flight and physics reassert themselves with devastating results. Time to die is a concept all pilots know by heart. The simple calculations of velocity, height, and alertness that all comes up to a single number. How many seconds you have before St. Peter takes down your name if something goes wrong. In atmosphere, gravity engines are nigh unparalleled by any propulsion system. They allow near total freedom of movement, precise directional adjustments, and near unequaled speed. Near. You see, an interceptor is always racing the speed of light, that glorious number listed as c, and the weapons that fire with its swiftness. To fight something like that, you need to outrun targeting computers, the gunner's gut feelings, and sometimes even the distortions in the lenses themselves. For that, near unequal speed is not fast enough. Out of atmosphere, the gravity engine is sufficient for most purposes. In atmosphere, the interceptor needed something more. Something with a bit of kick. So when Cookie flipped the switch and pushed the throttle slowly forward, an almost familiar roar of an engine sung in his ears. In atmosphere, for speed, the fusion torch reigns supreme. Capable of 0 to Mach 4 in 10 seconds, with a top speed so high there hasn't been an airframe built that could find it, if there is a top speed. Before he could push the throttle up to full, a boom shook the cockpit, and the familiar thrill of breaking the speed of sound sat in the ex-USN pilots' bellies. Within seconds, they had crossed half the small continent. In minutes, they were cruising over the vast oceans of the world at a steady Mach 3. At that speed, there was no chance of visual targeting, no chance of manual release and target. Most of the weapons had been taken over by the WSO. "Commander Trainer? Are you there, Trainer?" Simmons called out to the interceptor. "This is Trainer. We read you, Command," Milk replied. "Ready to receive information." There was the sound of a handful of keys clicking over an open mic before Simmons returned. "Commander Trainer, we're sending you targeting coordinates. In this exercise you have an orbital satellite feeding your system. Due to combat difficulties, you will have to manually identify and select targets for lock, since the satellite was damaged by combat. At current speeds, you have 1 minute to do so from when you get the data. Data transmitting in 5, 4, 3... Milk was ready. Calibrating readings and targeting data was one of the many virtues the WSO of an interceptor was supposed to accomplish. From working the ECM and EWAR systems to readying flares, a WSO was supposed to do it all while being yanked around by whatever G-forces the pilots took the interceptor to. And that included dealing with the data streamed to the interceptor from whatever targeting system was pumped out by the lowest bidder this year. So Milk wasn't surprised when the targeting data she got was some combination of messed up, broken, botched, and completely wrong, requiring her to sort it all out in the minutes she had before they overshot their targets. "We were given bad intel. We're 1 missile short. MLAG's a free burst, 6 hardpoint, 18 bombs, but we got 19 targets. Cookie will have the strafe, can't splash 'em." Her hands fly over the simulated targeting system, running old calculations and cleaning up data for the computer to chuck away at the numbers. Up front, Cookie saw a set of rings appear as a flight pattern. "Got the plan. Targeting good?" "We're good," Milk replied. "Like I said, we'll need to strafe the last one, so get ready to do that." "You already said that," Cookie replied. "I take it the thing with Venture's 4th has been worrying you?" Yeah, but we shouldn't talk about it here." "Fair enough. Target's coming up. Final checks on release?" "Final checks are done and good. Safety's off and triggers engaged. Releasing on computer marks. Follow the flight path, or nail these trucks easy." It was seconds before the mechanical chime of target lock echoed through the cockpit, and a mechanical clunk heralded the departure of the guided munitions. As Cookie peeled off at Mach 3 to avoid simulated AA fire, Milk kept her eyes glued to the targeting screen, watching the projected path of the rounds fall in the satellite feed. As the first bracket of the guided bombs slammed into their targets, her eyes narrowed at the final truck she was advised to leave for a gun run by the simulation. "That's not a cargo truck," she muttered, before her eyes snapped open. "That's not a cargo truck! Cookie, evade!" But it was too late. The final truck shook off its camo tarping, and the deadly shape of an anti-air battery pointed towards the sky. Cookie could fly well. He was one of the best pilots in the academy on the technical level, and was even able to match the instructors in some cases. But you can't outfly a hard lock from a targeting system, and you couldn't outrun the speed of light. Before the words had finished being said, before the Kentucky pilot could turn the controls into an evasive maneuver, the simulator reported all engines were lost and steering was steadily decreasing. Cookie didn't reply to Milk's screamed alert. Instead, he turned his steadily falling glider towards the nearest patch of clear frost for a crash landing, flaps fully extended. "Exercise! Exercise! Exercise!" Milk reported over the training channel, using the terminology the pilots had drilled into them. "We're reporting simulated damage and have lost all engine power. We are in the glide at..." She rattled off their position and altitude. "Please advise." "This is Control to Trainer. We read and understand. Be advised, simulated OB4 has been sighted in your area. Rescue may take time to arrive and you will need to remain uncaptured until then." "Confirm, Control. We'll put down a begin sear." "Try to make it at least a day, Trainer. I have money riding on it." Cookie snorted at that and flicked on his radio. "Don't worry, Control. We'll be out here until graduation if it means you get your bonus." "I still don't like how we're not supposed to say Mayday," Tarfin muttered. "What if some cadet gets in trouble around here and panics, saying exercise instead of Mayday? It would get them killed." Unlike the last few radio messages to the training flight, the command center's radio room was grim. The radio and satellite officers were all stone-faced women staring at their screens, making sure that when the interceptor was put down, it landed safely and slowly. Even training exercises can go wrong. A few pilots ended up walking out to the academy with replacement limbs because an easy and safe mission ended with a crash. Some didn't walk out at all. "I know," some women replied, "but I'm not the commandant, and the governess of this world didn't like the stress we were putting on our ATC crews when we had our class rattle off Maydays doing CGIS training." "I bet the other classes don't have to deal with this," Tarfin muttered angrily. For the most part, the Patrol Academy is spread out over multiple planets and moons, each giving their own unique ground missions to fly. The unnamed class, the scum of the crew, was stuck in the most populated world, which meant not only would they have less time on target due to civilian and military air traffic, but they would also have to obey the governess's sub-atmospheric travel restrictions, like not saying Mayday. "Train like you fight, so you fight like you train." Simmons can't prove anything, but she's almost certain this was an intentional sabotage of the lesser class, way to ensure the noble daughters get their share of glory before the common rabble do. "You shouldn't have broken radio code," Tarvin spoke up. Samwin looked over. "What, wishing them good luck?" "You know exactly why I had a problem with it." "Look, these humans probably don't get the complicated web of politics that goes on and would assume seeing Shilvantian armor as their rescue and not part of the exercise. I simply gave them the hint they needed." "We'll see if it's needed." In the back of the room, an orange-skinned cyborg watches the various screens with slight worry. Milk was down there and she was up here. It didn't feel right, even though that's how it would always be. Venture's fork worried at her lip, while a custodian gets up and pats her on the shoulder before leaving the room. Crash landing the Interceptor wasn't as hard as one might think. With all the computers in it, and the fact that Mach 3 gives quite a bit of glide time, the biggest problem was finding a large enough clearing that the ship wouldn't be damaged when it landed. The Interceptor was also a tough old bird. Able to take full power laser fire and keep fighting, it took either repeated strikes or a missile to really take it out of the fight. Even though it was a training interceptor in the training mission, the para-cadets knew if they'd been running drills for a year if they so much as brought it back with a scratch. "Well, shit," Cookie muttered, looking at the sole remaining wing on their interceptor. "I doubt that's going to buff out." Milk nodded while looking up into the massive alien tree, meters in diameter, with a nicely painted interceptor wing stuck halfway through the trunk. "No, I don't think it will. Think we could duct tape it back on?" Cookie shook his head with a straight-faced gravity. "No, I don't think even FlexTape will be able to fix that." The pair looked at each other, at the hyper-advanced, hyper-expensive spaceship crashed on the planet's surface, back at each other, and then broke down laughing. Shilvanti dropships are quiet in flight. The faint sound of directional engines and the electric hum of a gravity drive kept it from being dead silent, but the loudest sound inside the troop bay were the interior cadets going through their pre-flight rituals. Triumphant One was standing quietly in the center, helmet on. Underneath, she was muttering a prayer to the battle matron to guide her hand and wrath in the coming fight. She was the pod leader, and it was her role to ensure everyone else was good and proper. Triumphant 2 sat on the right side of the dropship, fiddling with her oversized rifle. The standard laser weapon was modified with an extended focusing barrel, sturdier stock, and a scope linked to her modified HUD. The sniper's ritual involved breaking down and rebuilding the backup optical sights. Triumphant 3 was just bouncing her leg up and down, causing her armored heel to ring against the hull of the vessel, tapping in time with the power of the engines. She was new, Well, new to this pod. Their previous 3 had washed out after an incident with a staircase and a few knives, so a new 3 was assigned to them by their noble benefactor. Triumphant 4 was the 5th daughter of said benefactor. And all on through and through, her armor was custom bought and tailored to the highest quality, instead of the mass-produced suits given to cadets. Didn't help her, since her marksmanship was atrocious. There was a hiss of static as Triumphant 5 finished up her work. Alright, comms are down due to atmospheric interference. The quotation marks could be heard as she fiddled with the large radio system on her back. We can talk freely. So why are we going to have a training accident with these two? Triumphant 4 shrugged. I don't ask questions. Mother wants them dead, and so Mother gets them dead. Such a shame our training weapons had those switches jostled to medium power on the landing. I did hear that one of them killed one of our sisters. In the interior, not by blood. Such a shame, Triumphant 1 said with a nod. Now turn off the jamming and get ready to hunt. We're about to land. Miles away and in low orbit, a stealth shuttle sat quietly as the group inside listened to every word. Rookie radio masking no barrier for their systems. Aleph looked at Bet and nodded. It was time to move.